Good morning, and it's another cold one today. I've just had to put my spikes on, although I don't think I need them in this. So I've parked just in the long lay-by there on Snake Pass. And we're heading up towards Bleaklow. I'm on a bit of an investigation mission today. So you must have heard of the Bermuda Triangle before. It is famous for planes disappearing. Whoa, thought I'd lost you, boy. Over the last 100 years or so, there's been around 20 planes that have disappeared in the Bermuda Triangle. Whereas this place that I'm standing today, in the Peak District, there's been 170 plane crashes. There's been at least 8 plane crashes up on Bleaklow alone. So I've been wondering, is this the UK's version of the Bermuda Triangle? Or is there a more logical explanation of why there's been 170 plane crashes in this region? Let's go and find out. It's one of those days where you need a combination of spikes, flippers, waders, and let's just say the ground's in transition. All that matters is I don't fall over. Go gadget flippers. So as you can see, whoa, this is tough enough navigating on foot. Never mind getting across it with 1940s technology. That's ironic, there's a plane up ahead. This is quite a busy flight path. And in the 40s and 50s, this area became a bit of a graveyard for pilots and their crew. So in 1954, 2 Canadian jets flying in formation just flew straight into the side of the hill. The cloud was that low, they couldn't see where they were going. I know that feeling. I don't know where I'm going. I'm supposed to get over there somehow. Back in 1945, up on Shelf Moor, very close to where I'm walking now, a C-47 Dakota crashed, killing all 7 members of the crew. This area is right in the middle of England, and it was a major flight path during the Second World War and the Cold War that followed. These paths are much easier to follow than they are to navigate. You might get a bit mucky doing this route. So just over the top of this hill here is the location of probably the most famous of the crash sites in the area. And when you see it in person, you can see the devastation. It's quite an eerie place. You can't help but get a picture in your mind of what that night must have been like. Wow, look at that. I will not be stepping over that bridge. There's a lot of erosion in this area, from water, from people walking on it. Made little caves in the peat. If you fancy having a go at this walk yourself, I will drop the GPX file on my website. I'll put a link to it in the description below. Brings me nicely on to today's sponsor, which is Squarespace. If you do not know who Squarespace are, they're a website that helps you create a website. It's for people like, everyday people like you and me, that want a website of their own, but they don't want to pay thousands of pounds to get someone else to do it for them. Squarespace makes things really easy. You can either put in a prompt into their AI feature or use one of their ready-made templates, which is what I did. Then you upload your photos, add some text, and just drag things around a little bit, and within a couple of hours you've got a website. Joe uses the built-in e-commerce so she can sell her artwork and paintings. Squarespace sorts out all the payments and stuff like that for you, whereas I mainly use my website for promoting my YouTube channel. I've now just put my gear list on there as well. Whatever you really want to do, Squarespace has got you covered. If you fancy having a go at building a website of your own, if you click the link in the description below or head over to squarespace.com/Paul Messner, you get a totally free trial, and when you're ready to go live you get 10% off your first purchase. So when I was reading about all of the crash sites in this area, I couldn't believe that there were so many in such a small space. 170 in a small area like the Peak District. But the bit that blew my mind the most was how the majority of the crashes happened. It's not quite what you would have thought, maybe. Bearing in mind that most of these crashes were during wartime or just after then. And you maybe thought that planes were shot down, or they were using mechanical engineering that wasn't maybe as reliable as it is today. But the majority of these planes that crashed were in perfect working order. The engines were running fine, the pilot thinks they're in control and know where they're going. Most of the crashes were due to what is known as CFIT, which stands for Controlled Flight into Terrain. Back then the pilots were flying with visuals only, so they're looking out the windows, or if it was thick fog and cloud, they were flying blind basically. All they were relying on was their altimeter, whatever you want to call it. The mistake that they'd made was they thought the ground was lower than it actually was. They're thinking that they've passed over across the plateau, and as they're coming down through the clouds, all of a sudden there it is in front of them, and they don't have time to react. Before they know it, they've crashed. In this area of the Peak District, it's just like one huge flattish plateau. The pilot thought he'd cleared the hills of the Peak District, made his descent and crashed into the plateau. We've reached the trig point of shelf stones. As you can see, pretty much once you've cleared this point, it goes downhill towards Manchester. A bit windy. It's a bit cloudy up there today. But on November the 3rd, 1948, the clouds went from the sky and they were touching the ground, and a B-29 Superfortress called Overexposed was on its way to Manchester carrying payroll and mail. When it made its descent down to Manchester, a classic case of CFIT, the plane struck the plateau, killing all 13 members of the crew instantly. It's almost 80 years ago. This is what's left of one of the remains of the duplex cyclone engines. And another one. What a tragedy. Another couple hundred yards and they'd have cleared the plateau. This is part of the landing gear. Bits of metal scattered everywhere. This looks like a bit of one of the wings. Could be wrong. Looks like it's starting to be claimed by the Peak District. I imagine this will have been a huge fireball. I suppose the only saving grace is they probably didn't know it was coming. Probably wouldn't have felt anything. I don't know. Just to lighten the mood a little bit, it started raining. So in answer to the question at the start of the video, Is this the UK's version of the Bermuda Triangle? Well, you'd have to say on the global stage that the Bermuda Triangle is definitely more well known, but statistically it would be much more dangerous to fly here in the 1940s and 50s than it is or would have been in the Bermuda Triangle. You know, you've got to bear in mind that this area is just 500 square miles and has got the wreckage of 170 aircraft. If the Bermuda Triangle had the same crash density as this place, you know, it would have lost not just 20 planes but over 150,000. That's how much bigger it is there. I've got to get across this little stream now. I suppose the biggest difference is the Bermuda Triangle is a mystery. You know, planes just and boats just vanishing into some kind of portal, and that wasn't the case here in the Peak District. It was more of a perfect storm of bad conditions, poor navigational tools, and this unpredictable British weather. You know, planes here weren't flying into any sort of portal or abyss. The pilots were just flying blind in a dangerous area in dangerous conditions. Speaking of dangerous conditions, I can't tell the streams from the paths. You don't know what's under these. Should have bought me walking poles. Schoolboy error, Paul. Or should I say pilot error. That's what we're looking for. Although, looks like another heavy crossing ahead. This is actually a section of the Pennine Way. See if there is a little marker on here. There we go. We're not going that way. Instead, we are going to jump ship. You can see things are starting to warm up. It's around 7 or 8 degrees today. So all that dumping of snow that we got over the last 2 or 3 days is now turning back to H2O. What do you reckon? It's one of them that you're guessing, aren't you? Is it solid ground? Oh, it sure is. Just want to say a few things before I sign off. If you are visiting places like crash sites or anything like that, be respectful. These are places where people lost their lives, so you know, don't start taking souvenirs and things like that, because I know some people do that kind of thing. It's pretty sick, to be honest, but yeah, pay your respects. Also, you know, make sure you, as you've seen, the weather conditions are pretty changeable. You know, the fog could come down now and you know, it would make navigation much more difficult. I have got a map with me. I've also got GPS with me as well, and I think should have, wherever it is. Yeah, it's here. I've got my satellite communicator and a few bits in my backpack, like something to drink, something to eat, and I've got my Life Systems storm shelter as well. And finally, if you've enjoyed the video, do me a favour, hit the like button and maybe subscribe if you haven't done so already and want to see more of the same. That's it for this one. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.